Say hi. Boo-boos.
Can I hold it?
Yeah, you want to say hi to them?
Hi.
How old are you?
6. And this is my mom. And this is my
Sister.
dad.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so what's your full name?
Caroline Jameson.
What's your middle name? Do you remember? Oh,
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth.
Great. Caroline Jameson. Elizabeth Great.
Caroline Elizabeth Grace Chambers. Soon to be Griffin. So, Caroline, when's your birthday?
I don't know.
March
March
5th,
5th.
2017. Hi.
You so cute. So hello, this is my sister who wants to eat. Wait, what the button do?
Yeah, it's recording.
Yeah.
Say hi.
Hi. My name is Mirabelle Sukerstein Griffin.
And how old are you?
I'm 6.5, and my birthday's on what?
December 11th,
December 11th,
2016.
2016, before her birthday.
Yeah. What's your favorite color?
And my favorite color is black and white, but my most favorite is black.
Tell them what's on your face.
And it was mustache day at school, so you can kind of see my mustache here. And I'm outside, if you can see. I'm at home outside, if you can see. And there's my baby sister. Hey, Nibble, let's just second Alma. And here my other sister is being silly. Nibble, this is silly. Alma. This is silly to do.
Okay.
And it's kind of busy and crazy in this house.
Oh, you're good. Okay. Can I have the phone now? Okay, what's today's date?
What I think it is, well, let's go Caroline first. What do you think the date is today? Say the numbers. 3, 2, 1. That's not the date today. The date today is, if I get it wrong, then you have to say it.
All right.
The date that I think it is
Where's Boo Boo's? Oh, okay.
but the number, it's May. Hey! You already had your turn.
Yeah, it's May.
5th, 2023.
Not May 5th.
May. Give me a hint what the number is.
I don't even know.
May 10th, 2023.
Yes. We're doing an interview.
We're doing an interview for you guys
About Caroline.
about Caroline, not me. But you don't want to join in.
Hi guys, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. As you saw earlier, Mirabelle was taking over the camera, and then the girls were having so much fun. So I'm like, okay, Mama's turn to take over and tell this story because it still makes me emotional. And I don't mind Caroline being there when I'm telling some of this stuff, but some of this stuff is like so personal, and I'm afraid she doesn't grasp the concept of like what's really going on or what really happened or whatever. So this is Caroline's NICU story. So yeah, without all the like the nitty gritty background, I got pregnant with her, obviously. Found out it was a girl. It was a total shock, total surprise. Because when I found out I was pregnant with her, I realized that I wanted to focus on myself, my career goals, and going back to school and all that. And so, found out it was a girl, and then went back. I think it was, I want to say it was like my 20-week appointment. And, I went with my sister, thank God she was there, and they basically said something's not right, but they weren't telling me exactly what it was. And so I don't remember how long I was in the doctor's office for. It was supposed to be just for a routine checkup, but I ended up being there for like over 3 hours. And they just knew like something was wrong. And the nurse was like, yeah, she's like measuring small. And I'm like, me, first time mom, I'm like all confused. I'm like, okay, it's because I didn't eat enough today. And she's like, no, that's not it. So like after running around in circles, and like the doctor even walked me to his office to explain this like chart thing with like measurements and graphs. He's like, wow, you're doing really good. Like, you're handling this really well. Like, you're being really strong for what's going on. And I'm like, okay, like, I have no idea what's going on. Like, they didn't full on tell me what is going on. They just said, like, she was in trouble. And something about, like, a bad placenta or something. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm going into his office, and he's like, yeah, you have to be admitted to the hospital. And he showed me these graphs and charts and these numbers, and I'm like, okay, she's on the small side. That's all I know. Like, this is so confusing. Like I did not get a straight up answer. And actually, I did not get a straight up answer about what happened until right before I had Annabelle, and they ran tests and my history and looked into everything, did like a full on investigation, or research, whatever you want to call it. And then that is when I found out. So anyway, I'm sitting in this doctor's office, and he's telling me, and I'm like, okay, I'm so confused. So I have my sister pick me back up because she left, came back because the doctor's appointment was taking so long. And so I said, something is wrong, I just don't know what. So conveniently, we were right by Cracker Barrel, and we were just gonna, hang out and eat. And then, like, my doctor calls me, and she's like, are you okay? Do you know what's going on? I said, no, they will not give me, like, a straight up answer. Like, I don't know. I just know that, something's wrong with the placenta, and she's running small. She's like, no, sweetie, if you don't get to the hospital, you're gonna have a stillbirth. That just, like, broke my heart. Because you know how close Caroline and I are. And she's like my best friend. And so it's just, like, really hard to look back, And so I'm like, even my dad was like, no, they're just, like, no, you're fine. And so, and surprisingly, I gained a lot of weight with Caroline. So anyway, I had to get this, like, blood work test done, and, like, a shot in my butt, which hurt. It was like, not adrenaline. It was like a booster to, like, help her breathe, help her with her lungs. And so, So I ended up getting admitted, and they just kept saying, yeah, she's like on the smaller side, you know, she's basically like stressing out, but we want to keep her in there as long as possible. So I was in the hospital for 6 weeks waiting for Caroline, and it was just so agonizing. I felt like a prisoner in the hospital because the food sucked. I don't know, the hospital has like a weird smell, and like I wasn't at home. I wasn't comfortable. Like I literally watched Lifetime all day and TLC, which got boring, you know, to a point. And so I'm like, I couldn't handle it, and like I'm like, please, please, please. I was like begging the nurses and doctors, please let me go home. And they were like, no, it's too much of a risk, you know. And I ended up having my baby shower in the hospital. My family came, which was nice, but at the same time, I'm like, this totally sucks. Well, the day before Caroline was born, my family came. Oh yeah, it was my mom's birthday, March 4th. Caroline was born March 5th. It was my mom's birthday. We were hanging out in the hospital, and you know, it was getting late. It was like 8-9 o'clock, and I'm like, I just don't feel good. I had a stomach ache, I had a headache, I don't know, I felt off, and I'm like, I just don't feel like anybody being here. I don't want anybody to be here. My mom's like, are you sure you don't want me to spend the night with you? I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. Just go home, get some rest. And then, you know, of course, like, they said that night that I was having contractions. And, of course, I didn't feel it. I felt like, it's kind of hard to explain, but I felt like an elephant sitting on top of my chest. Like, I was having a hard time breathing, and, like, it showed on the monitor, like, every time I would have a contraction, and I'm like, I can't feel it. Like, but that was her being in, like, stress mode. So next morning, my mom had to drive all the way from Sullivan to St. Louis, and she came at the nick of time, and at like 11 o'clock they're like, yep, your daughter's ready to be born. You're gonna meet her today. And I was like excited, but then I was like freaking out. So there's a bunch of drama. I don't even want to get into that. But so she ended up being born at 26 weeks. Right in the beginning of 26 weeks. Just like, yeah. And so I had her, and it was awful, excruciating pain. Luckily this time around when I had Ambo, much better doctor and medical team. So thankful for that. And so I had her, and they like gave me a quick look at her, and then they hauled her off. They had to take her in the helicopter to a hospital like 15 minutes away, and because she couldn't breathe on her own, and she was born 1 pound 2 ounces, and it was just the worst part. Like, when you become a mom, you're like, the best feeling is when you hear your baby cry, like when it's first born, and when you get to hold them. I did not get any of those. I asked my sister, because my sister was in the labor room with me, and I said, is she crying? She said no. She's having a hard time breathing. And like, that is like the worst feeling in the world. Like, not only is my child not not crying, having a hard time breathing, but I can't even hold her. I barely saw her for a second before she flew off into the helicopter, and I was in so much pain because they totally, like, how do I say it? Butchered. They totally butchered my abdomen. I had an opened wound for 9 months that I constantly had to stuff gauze in, and it was just awful. And then I had to get the reconstructive surgery later on down the road. I think it was like 2 years before I had Annabelle. And so that was really, really hard because I was in so much excruciating pain. I could not even, like, get out of bed to get in a wheelchair and get in a taxi and walk into the other hospital in the other NICU to see my daughter. And I was like, you know, it was the worst feeling ever. I hope nobody ever has to go through that because it's awful. So anyway, she was in the NICU for 5 months. She was supposed to be born June 7th, and she was born March 5th. And then she was out of the hospital, it was almost August, end of July, I want to say July 25th. But, yeah, it was just the most awful feeling, and I didn't know what was going on in my brain because I had major postpartum depression, and it did not help that I already had depression and anxiety. So to add this major life event, knowing, like, they're like, yeah, she doesn't have a good chance, you know, you could lose her. And I don't know, just I feel like, I don't want to say my humanity, but it felt like my humanity was, like, turned off. Like, because I would be excited to go to the NICU to visit her, like, every day. My dad would take me. I'd get, first thing, as soon as I walked in the room, it's like I had a complete meltdown. Like, yeah, I need to go to the bathroom. Like, I was just saying, like, yeah, I'm gonna pump, you know, just, no. And I would go into the bathroom and I would cry, and I didn't know why I was crying. Like, I have this beautiful baby little girl, and I'm like crying so hard, and I don't know why I'm crying, and I'm like, I just feel awful, and I never wanted to hold her. I never wanted to even look at her. It was just awful. You do not want to be there. Like, that was probably the worst depression that I've ever went through. And I mean, it made me and Caroline stronger because of what we went through. And we're close now, but it's just, no, I do not wish that kind of experience on my worst enemy. It was just awful. Like, even the nurses were like, why don't you want to hold your baby? And I'm like, but then I ended up going to therapy. There was a therapy session for all new moms, and I got to bond with new moms who were going through the same thing. And I realized my baby was the smallest out of the group. But these other moms with newborns, their babies had to have surgeries. And I'm like, I'm lucky that my baby doesn't have to have surgery. And so I went through therapy, which helped a lot. Like, that was the number one important thing. Like, even when I was the only one there, like, normally it was group therapy, but I also had one-on-one sessions, and I was excited to go every single time because it honestly helped. And got home, and I'm like, what do I do with this kid? Like, nurses have been taking care of her for the past 5 months, and I don't know what I'm doing. I eventually learned I just feel like I didn't really click with her. Me and her didn't have a special connection until later on. But I mean, me and her have an amazing bond now, and I couldn't have asked for a better daughter. I know we're dealing with, her autism, we're dealing with bone growth, hormone issues, all that, whatever. But she is smart, she's beautiful. She's my baby girl. She'll always be my baby girl. And so, yeah, really heartfelt. A story. Like, that is probably the hardest story. And, okay, so we found out later on down the road when I was pregnant with Annabelle that Caroline actually, the reason why I had to have an emergency C-section is because there wasn't enough blood flow to the brain. That's why she was in stress mode. So that was hard to hear. And then the same thing started to happen to Annabelle, except she was 36 instead of 26. So obviously my body just can't handle pregnancies as well as I would like. So we just decided, we have 4 kids, it's enough. I'm happy, he's happy. So no more babies. But, I'm very happy, I'm very grateful for both of my miracle babies. And for all 4 of my kiddos, they are the world. And I had an amazing Mother's Day weekend. Like, I got spoiled. So it was very nice. So thank you guys so much for listening to our little NICU story. It's tough. It really is. And I look at pictures and I'm in awe. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at how much we've been through. So thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like and hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.